Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
There can be real power in a word, and if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, this audio only experience, where we sit down with a wide ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. If you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening. So please keep listening and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive all of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel, so you can give us a like and subscribe there as well. We would really appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to find us on social media. There's so many choices out there, but we're there. We're on the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Facebook, the Blue Sky, the Threads, the Twitter, or the X, as it were, at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness, come on by and pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a fun one. We are diving into the underbelly of something, well, not all that nice, but, at the same time, it's something that a lot of people have to deal with. It's a film doing its festival run now from writer-director William Means and executive producer Patty Jenkins. It's called Junkie. It's the story of Stevie, played brilliantly by Rocky Shay, who herself is a recovering addict. She's a screw-up, and she's running on, less than zero, basically, and she just escaped rehab. And she's on a quest to repay her debts and reconcile with her estranged, openly gay son, Liam, before skipping town for good. It's the little gonzo as she runs from high risk predicament to high risk predicament. It's funny, it's sad, it's heartfelt. There's a little bit of grime underneath its fingernails all at the same time, too. It's a unique piece of cinema, and I'm really happy I had the chance to talk with writer director William Means and also star Rocky Shay just about the origins of it all and telling the story and kind of breaking down the idea of that word junkie, which really is such a shitty word when you think about it. But it's we get into the minutia of it all, and it's really quite fascinating. But like I said, keep an eye out for Junkie, which is doing its run now, and I'm sure is coming to theaters and VOD platforms at some point down the line. But first, enjoy our talk with William and Rocky, because between you and me, it's a pretty darn good one. Obviously, first off, both of you, just thank you so much for the time today. I appreciate this, and congrats on the
Thank,
film.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, David. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Now, William, I guess my first question is for you. Like, walking me through, I guess, the origin of wanting to tell the story. Because, on one end, we got sort of the high octane sort of energy, almost chase, almost action movie vibe of it. But at the same time, there's this real drama of trying to sort of deconstruct the actual term and like the phrasing of the word junkie, which,
Hmm.
when as I was thinking about it, I'm like, fuck, that's horrible.
Right. Um, oh man. Well, yeah, so I grew up in the swampy South, in Georgia. It's where both like Rocky and I are from. And yeah, I guess to be blunt, it's like I grew up there queer and closeted, not really even knowing that's what I was. I had gay conversion therapy as a kid, and that, kicks off a whole lifelong process of learning to unpack that, but you grow up like essentially having a label put on you that kind of just settles in your mind that you are like a glitch in the matrix, or you're like, an outcast of society. There's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed. But I know that it's also like it's a label like that that helps, people sort of easily put you on a shelf where they don't have to engage with your humanity on a deeper level because maybe something about you scares them. And I also grew up in a house like, with addiction. I saw addiction like ravage the lives of people around me. And yeah, and I guess in growing up and coming on like accept myself, I like would sort of challenge myself, like, okay, well, can you empathize with, the people that you've put labels on or that you've dismissed out of fear or whatever? And um, like one of my favorite movies growing up was Monster, Patty Jenkins' first film,
Sure, yeah.
who's our executive producer on this, and she that was one where it was like, she plops the word monster on that serial killer, but then like has such a radical act of empathy to try to make you see the humanity behind someone like that.
100%, yeah.
And yeah, that was a very like pivotal film for me. And so yeah, then in being out here, like I was sort of having this idea of like, what if I did an addiction film, but instead of it being focused on like what a burden they are, and it's like it's the movie that is exactly what your parents told you drugs are, like Requiem for a Dream. Like you'll become an amputee, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you'll have to get electroshock therapy and be like crazy on a train, like um, or you're just crying about what a burden you are, like, and everyone's gunning for an Oscar,
Yeah.
like Timothy Chalamet is beautiful boy. It was like I wanted this like more nuanced picture of it, and then I was like kind of, and I had the idea of like what if an addict was like a superhero, if it was like, but the heroic act was just them trying to do a good thing or like trying to do the right thing in spite of being the number one person to get in their own way.
Yeah.
And I sort of like took this idea to Rocky, and she's like, well, yeah, I totally relate to that because like some of my favorite memories were from when I was high as shit. And I was like, wait, like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, oh, I should tell you about all my years as a meth addict and like my three rehabs I ran away from and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Rocky, what? Like, I had no idea that she had this history. And then, yeah, she handed me a stack of her journals that she kept from rehab and from some she even wrote when she was high. And it helped jumpstart like me writing this. And yeah, the approach was like, we want to show the highs and the lows of a journey like that, of like have the fun and the thrills and show people just like a damn good time at the movies, but then also be very real about the subject matter
Yeah.
we're doing and how it can even be fun, but it usually comes at the expense of others, like after a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I mean, Rocky, I guess that dovetails into my question for you because obviously this is an intense character. And I mean, and if this is, inspired by, lived by you to a certain degree, how did you manage to sort of find sort of I guess the way in, I guess the safe way in is probably the best way to put it because I mean, again, this is not a character you can kind of half-ass on the screen. You got to
Right.
go all in with it.
Yeah. And that was very, very important for me is I wanted Stevie to be real. That was one thing, I had, mentioned to Will. I was like, if we're gonna do a movie that, it's about addiction or whatever, I want it to be real. Like you said, it's not all Debbie Downer and how it like affects everybody, whatever. There's, I met some good people, like,
Yeah,
they're not addicts. We're just, we're not bad people. We just do make really bad decisions. And there's
exactly.
a
Yeah.
reason why we act like that. There's a hurt there. And so I kind of wanted to dive into that to where you could see how Stevie had been hurt and why she is like she is. So for me, it was just concentrating on just making Stevie as real as it could be, not just like me, like I was, but using my experiences or whatever to make her as real and relatable to where you could end up pulling for her at the end, which you normally, you wouldn't pull for an addict, but you actually are pulling that she'll be able to get to where she's going, where she's wanting to go, whatever. And then also I wanted it to, some of the funniest times were whenever I was high. That's why, like in my journals or whatever, I write some of the stuff. Then I told Will some of the stuff that I did that was just insane or whatever. So, and it's dark comedy, but it also makes you like Stevie because she's funny, So that was just for me was just getting Stevie right. I don't want to say right. That's probably not the right word, but just making sure that her character was someone that people could relate to, like, and end up pulling for in the end.
Well, and I mean, that's the thing that struck me because, again, it's one of those things. I mean, like you said, Will, it's not a movie about, oh, what a burden and this, that, or the other. It's quite literally, we're seeing this character, at the bottom of the trash bin, kind of looking up,
Yeah.
Yeah,
going, oh, hey, maybe there's a way out.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
just to dovetail on something else, I'm kind of curious because I'm not, like, talk to me a little bit of how Patty came involved because again, when I hear these stories of, or you see it on the poster, like, is it
Yeah.
someone who just, did they come in for bridge financing, or were they sort of involved in the creative process? Like, walk me through sort of how Patty, sort of got into your lives.
Yeah, it's so easy to look so glamorous and convenient when it's like a name on a poster, but it is just so not the story of how it happens. Like, um, but so I managed to get accepted to American Film Institute to the conservatory out here, and I went there for grad school in 2019, so just in time for the pandemic, and it turned into online school. And Patty is, an alumni from the school. And Monster had been like one of my favorite movies since I was 12. And then kind of, AFI's thing they were doing for us to make up for the fact that we were in online school was like trying to get really good celebrities to come do Q&As with us and stuff like that or present their films. And she was promoting Wonder Woman 84 at the time and came through. And so naturally, like everyone in the class is like, "Oh my God, I just love the No Man's Land scene from Wonder Woman." And like, "Oh my God, if you could remake one movie, what would it be?" And then I was like so prepped for my question because I was working on another script about a serial killer actually. And as soon as I got on, I was like, "Yes, Patty, how did you come fresh out of film school, like no films under your belt, no experience whatsoever, and manage to get a feature greenlit as niche as I want to do an empathetic portrayal of a serial killer that's also a queer love story?" And she's just like, "Whoa, okay." Like, and
You came with the right
and
question.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I selfishly need information. I
Yeah.
don't care about her ego. Like, I need help. And but she just responded to it, I guess, and I like did the classic. I took a shot in the dark, and I wrote a quick little email. And basically, he doesn't care if I tell people now, but I basically joked to a mentor, like, "Oh, you should pass her my script," like one of the people working at AFI. And he was like, "I'm not doing that." And he's like, "But I can give it to her assistant." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to send a script. I want to send a letter." So I wrote a quick one being like, "It was so incredible to get to ask you this question. I'm working on a similar project. Could I maybe just have 15 more minutes of your time on a Zoom or something to ask you a couple follow-up questions?" And she agreed, which I couldn't believe. So to speed the story up, like she ends up loving my script. I end up developing it with her and her production company for a while I'm still in grad school at AFI. But since the film industry works the way it does, it's like financing fell through on it. And then it was like we're struggling to get financing from other people for it. And then Patty started getting pulled onto all these other projects she had to do and produce and whatnot. So I tried to scale back my idea, come up with something smaller once we budgeted that out. And that was a much more Southern addiction focused film, but more in the direction of a horror film. And then that one was still a budget of like $2 million or something. And at this point, like Patty hadn't directed in a while, and I knew she was just like ready to be focusing less on producing and getting back to more her director bag. And yeah, and both her and my editor sort of at one point were like, "You really don't think you have like a even smaller idea that you could do for cheaper?" And that was when I started forcing myself to come up with Junkie and literally set out to make it with like not enough money in my pocket to even make a feature. I wrote the script in a month and I knew I wanted to shoot at this mud bogging festival in Kentucky. And so we had like only a month to prep before that festival was going to happen. And that was the first thing we shot. And then basically the whole time, Patty was like hands off. But I was just thinking, like, every step of the way that we're making it, like, okay, I just really want to make something that she would like enough to want to put her name on, though, and to want to support. And so, like, the extent of her involvement was like in post. She like came into some sound mixing sessions. And then, other than that, it's really been, I think, sort of helping us get the word out there. And now,
Right.
like, showing up for the festival, doing press with us, like, stuff like that. So
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Now, I'm curious, and I want both your perspectives on this. There's something about the movie that, and it pushes against that Hollywood convention of trying to fit into a box. It's a thriller, it's a this, it's a comedy, it's a that. when in reality, to me, this was like, spinning the kaleidoscope wheel and just seeing where you hit, on the emotion scale.
Mm,
I like that.
Why
I
do you
love
think
that.
sort of that was so important, especially in telling this story of Junkie? Because I mean, again, as you've both said, in sort of that life, that experience, there's highs and there's lows. Why not
Yeah.
show
Mhm.
both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just with that, there's so many aspects of it. It's not just all lows and it's not just all highs. It's, throw a dart one day and then that's how that day's going to go. And you never know whenever you wake up how that day's going to go, if it's going to be a good day or if it's going to be a bad day, if you're going to dig yourself even into a more hole or you're going to try your best to get it right today. So I think that we did a really good job of just all aspects of junkie, of a mind of an addict.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think I think we did that really
And
beautifully.
I think that's more the type of film I prefer to make, and the type of film I respond to is ones that are unpredictable and that don't fit. Again, we're literally doing a movie that's about unpacking a label, so it's like, why would I want it to conveniently fit in a genre
Right.
Yeah,
label?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because to me that's life, is it's like, I've
Yeah.
had days where it's like I've literally had a day where I like buried my grandfather one morning. I had slept 3 hours and then I wound up that night like on a drug at a club, like until 2 a.m. Like, and it was like just like the insane variety of what you can experience in a day. And yeah, I think we wanted to show that, and then purely from just like a filmmaking level, is it was kind of like, if we want to make a breakout feature that's going to get people to take us seriously, let's like, I'm sure, I guess there's an element in the back of my head of like, let's show them that we can do it all. Like,
Yeah.
I can do heavy drama, I can
Yeah.
do sweet, I can do like,
Dark comedy.
yeah, gross, dark comedy, I can do an action sequence, and then the exact same like for an actor of like, she can be a badass bitch in a fight scene and
Yeah.
throw some punches and be like Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, and then she can have like a really heartbreaking scene with like a child um or
That's
just
true.
or and she can play meth, she can play ketamine, she can play like all the different drug performances, like, yeah, it was just like, I don't know, show them that you can do it all, I guess, is
Yeah.
kind of what we're hoping for. But not because that's a stretch of what reality actually is, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, I
Well, and
agree.
I mean this in the best of ways. Like in watching it, it felt to me like a more humanistic, or a more humanistic version of something like Train Spotting. It was
Mm,
Oh,
trying to
okay.
give you
nice.
sort of the grounded. It was still trying to be crazy, but it wasn't trying to sort of give us too many peaks and valleys. It was trying to still keep us in sort of the frame box of reality, as it were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we push the reality far, some people think we do, but ironically, it's like one of the most over the top moments, which is literally a fight move that she does in the middle of a fight scene. It's like one of the most ridiculous moments that people always laugh at, and it's like the only moment in the movie that is actually ripped verbatim from her life of something that she actually did. So,
Wow, I think I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. That's crazy.
so yeah.
When you're doing something like this, it's there's always that temptation of, well, you've got to be politically correct and you've got to be sensitive. This manages to be sensitive but not be politically correct at the same time. At least from my
Yeah.
vantage point. Like, how big was that for you to not give it sort of that sugar coating, that shine?
Oh, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
that's part of what I'm like sort of despairing about in cinema nowadays, is like that I feel like we're getting films that are a lot more didactic, and
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they paint people as black or white, and especially the political environment we live in, it feels like watching American football, where it's like you have to be on one team or the other and you have to be a loyal fan. Like,
Yeah.
and that, I mean, there's no demographic I think I've had more resentment for than the Southern home I grew up in, because of just a lot of my, just childhood trauma and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But so it was like challenging myself to be like, but don't dismiss it with a label. It's like it's the redneck South. Like,
Yeah.
you are the redneck South. So try to find how can you empathize with it? Like, what about it do you connect with? And it's like, and yeah, every day, like, you go to Thanksgiving every year with family members who say really offensive, messed up shit, and they don't get canceled. You still say like "I love you, Grandpa," and then you have to deal with them again at the next Thanksgiving. But I think that
But there's
it's
some really beautiful rednecks too. I think,
yeah,
I mean, like, redneck is just a word or
Of
whatever,
course, yeah,
but
just like Junkie. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
exactly, exactly. So I think, Southern culture or whatever, there's some really, really beautiful aspects of it, which is family, even though my family was horrible, but you know, I don't know, just as friends, whatever. I don't know, there's some beautiful stuff about the
yeah.
Southern.
And even though Euphoria is not like the HBO show, Euphoria is definitely not particularly my
Right. Yeah.
slice of cake,
Yeah,
but
me
there's
neither.
one really great line in an episode, or it's like Coleman Domingo says like it's something like a world without redemption, like who would want to live in that? But it's like
Yeah.
kind
Exactly.
of like that everybody needs the opportunity to redeem themselves, and yeah, to me that's real life is like, and what creates more empathy is when you try to completely cancel out someone by putting a label on them or because they said something once upon a time, like
Right.
I feel like it just removes a lot of our empathy in the day-to-day life. And so I even knew like in this movie, like I want like her character to be someone who can like say something really offensive, and then you'll be like, well, why can I still empathize with her? Because I think if you can connect to someone, even though they piss you off or
Right.
offend you, it's like one of the best
Yeah.
things. And I wanted hopefully every character in the movie to sort of be like that, while still injecting it with a sense of like, yeah, the racists like get their comeuppance,
No, but
and
you're
like,
you're right though, because it's one of those things where we do live in such a day and age where it's right or wrong, it's black or white.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to brass tacks, everyone has to open their eyes and go, "Oh shit, I'm surrounded by gray." It's
yeah,
gray everywhere. That's just the life. That's just life.
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
And I mean, I think you guys did a beautiful job with that. And I mean, it's definitely a movie at the right time for sure. But
Thank you.
obviously, both of you just thanks for the work. I mean, you both did a great job, and thank you for the time today.
Thank
Dude,
you.
thank you, David. This has been great,
Yeah.
but
You're very
thank you so
welcome.
much.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.